Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Legals. We are very privileged and excited today to have with us Craig Latimer, Hillsborough County's very own Supervisor of Elections. Just a little bit about Craig. He's very well known, but let me tell you a little bit about him. He was initially elected in November 2012 and took office in January 2013. He's been reelected twice in 2016 and 2020 and is now proudly serving his third term. He served as the president of Florida Statewide Association of Election Officials in 2020, and he is the first supervisor of election to earn the Governor's Sterling Award, the highest award for performance excellence in the state of Florida. Thank you so much for joining us today, Craig. We're
Absolute pleasure.
We had you, I believe it was in 2022, join us, and thank you for being with us here again this morning. So, to open up, I would like you to briefly talk to us about changes in early voting and voting by mail since the last election. Many have said that those changes were a solution looking for a problem, but tell us how these laws have changed.
So the biggest change is around vote by mail. The legislature caused every request for vote by mail to expire after the 2022 general election. So anybody that's used to voting by mail, they're going to need to make that request again. And it's only good for one general election cycle. It used to be good through two cycles. Now it's just one cycle. It's an easy process, though. You can call our office, 813-744-5900, or you can go online and request that vote by mail ballot online. The biggest change is now you're going to have to furnish us with your Florida driver's license number, your Florida ID number, or the last four of your social, whatever we can match with what we have on file. So that's kind of the biggest change. And people that vote by mail, we used to have a checkbox right on the back of the envelope, and you signed your name and checked the box that you wanted to continue to receive it. But when that additional information is required for, driver's license numbers, last four socials, we're not going to put that on the back of an envelope with a signature. So we've tried to make it just as almost as easy, but people need to do it. That's the big thing. They need to go online and do it.
Okay.
Early voting, we're required, every county in the state's required to do a minimum of 8 days of early voting. I do 14 days. I do the full 2-week amount, and from 10 to 6 during primaries and 7 to 7 during general elections. But it varies by county. So surrounding counties, you should check with your supervisor of elections office to ascertain what their early voting hours and locations are. In Hillsborough here this year, we're going to have 27 early voting sites. So, really, our voters embrace early voting. About a third of our voters vote by mail, a third early vote, and a third vote in person.
Okay.
But it's really, really easy to, we talk about all the time, plan your vote. Know what you're going to do. Go to my website, votehillsborough.gov. You might be surprised to find out that there's an early vote site right around the corner from where you're going to pick your child up from school or where you go to work. There might be something really close by. So go to the website.
Yeah, that is likely with 27 sites. So tell us about some of the deadlines that we should be aware of.
So we've got 3 elections, countywide elections coming up this year. The first one will be the presidential preference primary. That will be March 19th. Now, there's only going to be a Republican presidential preference primary because the Democratic Party has already nominated Joe Biden. So there won't be any other presidential preference primary, just the Republican. After that, then we've got our local elections start to really wind up. And we've got our primary will be on August 20th. And of course, early voting will be 2 weeks before that. And then the big election, the general election, is going to be November the 5th. And I say the big election, I encourage people, though, to get involved with these primary elections because there's very possibly races that will be decided at that primary. And people don't realize that. You may only have 2 school board people running for a race. One of them is going to get over 50% and win. The same way with judges. There's going to be races that could be decided there.
Gotcha. For those who are relocating or who possibly are not registered, is it too late to register to vote for the upcoming election?
It is not. So in Florida, you must be registered to vote 29 days before the election. So we've got till February 20th for people that want to register or change their party affiliation for the upcoming primary election. And again, a very easy process for those new to the area. Hopefully, when you went to get your driver's license, they asked you if you wanted to register to vote there. If they didn't, go to my website, votehillsborough.gov. You can register right online there. So it's an easy process. Again, people just need to take the initiative to do it.
Awesome. So I had a question. We did just discuss the upcoming elections for this year. And so we understand that there are various options to vote now, 3 ways to vote. Do you want to just describe a little bit what those options to vote are now?
Sure. Yeah. Easy ways too. There is 3 ways to vote. You can vote by mail. That's, a nice, easy way to do it. You can vote from the comfort of your home. Take your time to look up candidates, research referenda items, whatever you need to do. I pay the return postage. If you don't want to put it in the mail, you can drop it at any of our early vote sites during early voting hours or any of my 5 offices. So that's vote by mail. And you can track that ballot. We're starting a new service this year that you actually have to opt out of. So people are going to find out they're opt-in already. And we're going to be emailing you or texting you to let you know that your ballot's on the way. We're going to also let you know when the ballot's been returned to our office and when that ballot's been counted. So then you've got early voting. And I mentioned before, I use the full 14 days for early voting because I think that our voters embrace that here. I also kid about, don't wait till the last weekend to come early vote. You just had 12 days before that, get it done, get it out of the way. One of the things I like to tell people, if there's any issues whatsoever, if you early vote the first couple days, because if there's a problem, you've got 2 weeks to straighten it out. Not if you show up to the polls at 5 o'clock on election day. So that's another good reason early voting should be embraced by many, many people. That way they know they're going to get their vote in the bank and get it, make sure it's counted. And then, of course, we've got the last day to vote, and that's election day. And I always tell people, when you wake up election day, I hope you're not sick, or you're someone you're taking care of it and sick, your car starts, you don't have a flat tire, so you don't get shut out. But you have those 3 options: vote by mail, early vote, and election day.
Okay. All right. Tell us I think you mentioned thirds. Hillsborough County citizens are taking those options in thirds. Is that correct?
That is, we've historically seen that a third of our voters voted by mail, a third voted early, and a third voted election day. That changed during the pandemic. In that 2020 election, I think we had 47% of our voters voted by mail. But we've seen it go back in 22. It's kind of started to level back out again. So people are moving around more freely for sure.
Okay.
So then, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. But so then if, because we appreciate having 2 full weeks for early voting and, making it easier for mail-in votes. But I can't help but think about the people who maybe are not tech savvy. Now, everybody has somewhat access to the internet, but they're not quite tech savvy. And those are typically our seniors, our sparkling seniors. And they also tend to, am I correct in assuming they tend to also want to mail in their votes? Is that correct?
It varies. We get a lot of our mature audience, we'll call them.
Yes.
That do vote by mail, but a lot of them also, come and do in-person voting. Okay. I will tell you this too, that this is kind of one of those interesting little statistics. 18 to 25-year-olds make up the second largest block of voters in our county. All right, wow. 18 to 25-year-olds. They're only outdone by 60 and above.
Oh, wow.
60 and above, however, accounts for the largest percentage of people that vote, and 18 to 25 accounts for the smallest percentage that vote. So we all have a job here to light the fire in these 18 to 25-year-olds. Now, it's started to turn a little bit, but it's still the 60 and above. Those are your voters. That's who's coming out to vote. That's who we see come out of the primaries also. Which is kind of interesting, and I always harp on these primary elections because the local elections are what impacts your wallet a lot more than the federal election does.
Mhm.
Local elections, your county commissioners, your city council, your school board members, those are all taxing authorities. And
Mhm.
these are the people that are responsible for your quality of life issues in your neighborhoods. When you turn your water on, real water comes out. Your garbage is being picked up. Your streets don't have potholes in them.
Right.
There's not, safety issues going on in your neighborhoods. So, these are the primary elections are the ones that can really impact you greater.
Good. One last question for me. I'm just curious. With registering to vote, you said that we could always go online. If someone hasn't done it at the DMV, they can do it online. Is there an area where they can go in person to do it, or do you expect that people will be canvassing, going door to door to help register people to vote as well?
Yeah, we're required to have registration applications at every library. We've got them at, where you go to buy your fishing license. There's supposed to be ones there. So yeah, there's a lot of hard copies all over the place. People can fill those out and mail them in to us or drop it off. You can also download it off of my website. You can pull that application right down, fill it out by hand if you want. And yes, there is always third-party registration organizations that are out there trying to register people to vote and get people engaged. I'm not so worried about the registering to vote as I am now get out and vote. That's the thing that we see is that, people will register to vote and then they just aren't engaged.
Right. Thank
Well,
you.
they need to register in order to cast their vote. So I would be interested to see, how we can promote registration more for that 18 to 25-year-old population. Are there any initiatives or projects in the works to help us with that?
Yeah, so right now, and this is not right now, for years, we are in every high school at least twice a year in Hillsborough County, where we are pre-registering 16 and 17-year-olds. They can't vote until they're 18, but when they turn 18, I'm mailing them their voter information card, and they should start, getting engaged at that point. We're going to send them sample ballots for upcoming elections and things like that. So yeah, we also work with the universities and colleges also to get students registered out there, and we work with the student government from the different schools to engage them because somebody at USC, even though I'm a graduate of USF, some student at USF really doesn't want to hear from me. I'm not quite in their peer group, but we're able to work with the student government to try and engage them a little better.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else?
Mr. Latimer, you mentioned that the issue, I guess, here in Hillsborough County is not registering to vote, but getting out and actually voting. Do you know what percentage of residents here in Hillsborough County are registered to vote versus those who actually vote in the elections?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, the legislature just changed how we do what we call list maintenance. And what we had to do this last year was we sent a card, a final notice, basically, to anybody that hadn't voted in the 2020 election or any election since then. So the 2022, the city of Tampa, and that turned out to be 108,000 people.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, we did have about 4,000 people responded to that. But these other people aren't engaged and they'll be moved to what's called an inactive status. And what does that mean? It means they're still a registered voter. It means they can still show up and vote. They can request a vote by mail ballot. They can sign a petition and they'll go back to active. But if we have no more communication with them through the next two general election cycles, then they'll be made ineligible. Now, having said that, we look at these numbers all the time. And that's why I said that, we know that people are registering and then they're just not getting engaged. They might be standing at DMV and they say, do you want to register to vote? And they're sitting in a room full of 40 people and they go, oh, yeah, absolutely. I want to register to vote with no intention of voting whatsoever. We know we've got those out there, but it's kind of hard to put a number or percentage on how many people are eligible to register to vote in Hillsborough County. And they're in fact registered. And I emphasize eligible because, there's people here that aren't citizens. that might be on work permits. They can't register to vote, so that the numbers are kind of squishy when you get to that. Now, back to the original question, though, I can tell you that in a presidential year, we generally get somewhere between a 72 to 74% turnout. I think we're going to see that go up this year because we've cleaned all these people off of the rolls, moved them to inactive. So I think we're going to have a much higher percentage turnout. It'll be the same number of people, but it'll be a higher number.
Okay. So just so I understand, once they've been moved to inactive, you've indicated that they can come in and vote. But I mean, so what is the distinction? What do they have?
Yeah, so if they don't do anything though for the next two general election cycles, if they don't come vote, they don't request anything, they don't communicate with our office, then they'll be made ineligible. Now they can always re-register again too. But what we found, I went and looked at a lot of these where they were coming back with the yellow sticky notes on them, and the ones that just jumped out at me was that the forwarding address had expired, which means they've been moved for a long time.
Yeah.
And it could have been out of county, out of state. I don't know where they were moving to.
Okay.
Yeah, and just didn't update
Hello.
their information.
I'm sorry.
And they just didn't update their information, right?
Yeah, I kid
Yeah.
about that. When somebody moves in Hillsborough County, the first thing they think of is, oh, I need to call Craig Latimer and tell him I'm moving. No, that doesn't
Or
happen.
not.
Yeah, or not.
Well, it's nice that you can go to the DMV, and if you're changing your driver's license, if you're updating your driver's license, it kind of sort of automatically updates your address in the system. So that's convenient. So thank you for explaining that process. So I think we now have an understanding of what citizens of Hillsborough County, what we need to do to register. But what should we be doing to get ready for these 2024 elections that you mentioned in March, August, and November?
Yeah, stay engaged. And let's talk again about the 18 to 25s or first time voters for that fact. One of the things I really encourage people to do is go to my website, votehillsborough.gov. We have a series of videos on there that shows you what to expect when you walk into a polling site, be it early vote or election day. So you're not overwhelmed with, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. So we're trying to break that down and just make it easy for people and that they're comfortable. But, the biggest thing is that we need to talk to our friends, our neighbors, our family, and make sure that they have planned their vote. When are you voting? Let's go together. Type thing, but and be engaged. Know what the issues are. We could very possibly have some big amendment issues on the ballot this year. They've collected the signatures for the abortion amendment to go on the ballot and recreational marijuana. Now they're both in the Supreme Court still. They haven't been knocked out of there yet. So they may or may not be on the ballot, but some big items are going to be there. That's for sure.
So, as a parent, Mr. Latimer, as a parent of a child who is away in college, yay, and he's out of state, big yay, but he's also registered to vote. Should I encourage him to mail in his ballot, or do I need to scramble to go and get him to bring him in for his first time?
Absolutely not. No, he can do a vote by mail ballot. All he's got to do is make that request. I'm assuming he's still registered here.
Yes.
Hillsborough County at your address. So yeah, he can make that request for a vote by mail ballot. Now, if you're really a good mother, what you do is, bring him home, cook meals for him over the weekend and encourage him to go vote in person. But
I'm okay with being just an average by the
Okay. So, when I tell people, because we get this question a lot, and I tell people, if you're planning on coming back here, then you probably should stay registered here. I'm not going to tell you where to register, but, if you're going to some college, in some other state and you're not going to be staying there, I don't know why you would be getting engaged with, who you want to elect to a town council or something at that point. So we try and just, tell people where you're going to be engaged, that's where you should be registered to vote.
Right. Thank you.
And Mr. Latimer, I think this is our last question, but where can people go to do some research about the issues that are coming up on the ballot or the candidates that are, running for these offices? Where can people find information about them?
Yeah, so the easy way to do it again is you can go to my website. You can see everybody right now that's filed for the different local offices. You have to go to the state website to see, all in one, and you can click on it from our website. You can get there because there's a little bit of a difference. So the local candidates, they file and qualify with my office. But if it's like the state attorney, public defender, or a multi-county area, all of the state senate and state house, they all qualify with the state. So it makes it a little bit cumbersome. But there's a lot of information out there that different groups are putting out. The most difficult to get information on, of course, are the judges, because they can't make a stand on anything. They can't say how they feel one way or another because cases may come before them. But I know that you can go to the Bar Association and look there to see just what the recommendations are from other attorneys reference to different judgeships. So that's one good way to do it. And then there's going to be a slew of referenda items on here too, that the legislature will probably put a couple of things on the ballot also. And I'm, hearing rumbles that the county needs to re-up their community investment tax. So that's going to be, another issue that's going to be on there. And the school board may put another item on there again. So, staying engaged, staying current, and watching what's going on. I mean, that's some of the biggest things. But let's talk about that a minute too, because the other thing that I tell people is get your information from a trusted source.
Yes.
And I hate to tell you this, but Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X are not really trusted sources. Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, that's why we went and got the .gov URL. And I am a trusted source. I would encourage you to go to my website, sign up for my electronic newsletter. We do a little 2-pager every month. It's just loaded with information. You can send that on. Again, we talk about how we can engage other people. You can forward that email. It's got all the important dates on it, when you have to be registered by, when the early voting is going to take place. Everything you want to know about elections is right there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Craig, for joining us again. We appreciate your time this morning, and enjoy your lunch with the governor.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy this. So y'all have a great day.
All right.
You too. Thank you.